I feel that child pornography should be legal.
Okay, just what the living actual fuck? Look at this guy's smile. He looks like he's about to break into someone's house in the middle of the night and rape their asshole so they can no longer shit properly.
The reason why I'm speaking up against the legalization of child pornography is because I think that it is a fascist law that violates human rights and it needs to be abolished.
If you don't know the story of Amos Yee, here's how it goes. The guy is originally from Singapore with a Chinese background. As a kid, he started making YouTube videos, and I have to say that his intro always made me laugh.
Greetings, fellow viewers, welcome!
But for real, during his years in high school, the guy started making videos criticizing the former Prime Minister Lee Kuan Yew. In March 2015, he began comparing him to Jesus in an unfavorable manner, and later he uploaded a photoshopped image with Lee and Margaret Thatcher doing something that the Singaporean government didn't really like, and has in general criticized Singapore.
Cries of help from Singaporeans are often washed out by the blatant corruption happening to our Asian neighbors like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam. But is Singapore less corrupt than them? Not in my opinion. In fact, I would make the argument that Singapore is far worse actually. The same exact party has been ruling the country for 50 fucking years. The government controls the entire mainstream media. Our journalist freedom index is 154th in the world, 6 ranks below communist fucking Russia. There's no independent elections department. We've been literally reported as having the lowest positive emotions in the world, with numerous other polls indicating that Singapore is one of the most unhappiest countries in the world. They have detained people without trial, sued and arrested people for their political views. Everyone is in fear. Then the Singapore government says, we still give citizens voting rights, we still give them the internet, which automatically means we're democratic.
He was then arrested and charged with, quote, intentionally wounding the religious feelings of Christians, as well as threatening, abusive, or insulting communication, which was all done under the Protection from Harassment Act. The trial lasted from May 7th to May 12th, with the court finding him guilty and sentencing him to 4 weeks in prison. He was released on July 9th, 2015, after much pressure from international organizations. In November of that same year, Yee became the subject of controversy yet again after criticizing Islam, and in October 2016 he began serving a 21-day prison sentence for the exact same charge as before. On December 2016, he fled to the United States and sought political asylum, which the US government initially rejected, but an immigration appeal court decided to uphold his bid for asylum. And on September 26th, he was released pending his status. But here's the part where everyone sees him as a piece of shit.
Let's have a nice, civil discussion on pedophilia. First, we need to agree on just one thing, that sexual abuse is not determined by age, but instead on whether or not the relationship involves consent. I'm absolutely certain that we should not discriminate against pedophiles. Our society's treatment of pedophiles is inhumane and horrendous.
Exactly. Apparently, these kinds of people can apply for asylum. Here in this video, I'm not going to be ranting about why he's wrong, because everyone knows why. Instead, I'll be explaining why he's a fucking idiot. Retardation, or mental deficiency as it is clinically called, is divided into 5 categories. Borderline deficiency, which has an IQ of around 70 to 80. Mild mental deficiency, which is around 50 to 70. Moderate retardation, which is between 35 and 50, roughly. Severe mental retardation goes from around 20 to 40, and profound mental retardation goes below 20 or 25. To make this easier, I will use the now obsolete terms that categorize mentally deficient people. They are moron, imbecile, and idiot. Yeah, those were actually real labels back in the 1920s. Behavior regarding borderline deficiency isn't that really extreme, and in most cases they succeed in blending in with the rest of the population, but they are often slow learners and do not advance into higher education. Behavior regarding mild mental retardation isn't really detectable in early years, but it becomes more obvious during the first few years of school. They usually are capable of reading, writing, and accomplishing math problems up to the level of a child between the ages of 9 and 12, and can learn practical skills. However, they often exhibit some irrational and feral acts. Behavior that links to moderate mental retardation often shows symptoms within their first few years of life. They often exhibit speech delays that can only learn simple tasks. As adults, they often live with their parents or a caregiver, as well as probably working only in sheltered workshops. However unfortunate, people with severe or profound mental retardation are unable to independently care for themselves and will always require assistance from a certain caregiver. In regards to Amos Yee, I want to talk about 2 points. The first and undeniable reason why I question his intelligence comes from how he is building up his life. The guy first made comments about the government and Christianity which got him arrested and sent to prison. Keep in mind that having a criminal record affects your reputation and makes you less desirable for employment, taking out a loan, or even enrollment into a university. However, this guy intentionally continued to make the same comments that got him in prison about Islam, which did land him behind bars. On top of that, he even continues to destroy his credibility with pro-pedophilia views streaming live on the internet. Here's what also makes it more scary. The United Nations High Commission for Refugees states that those who commit crimes shall not receive refugee status. Yes, you heard me. Article 1F of the 1951 Convention states that an individual shall not be granted asylum in the country of refuge if they permit a crime and become a menace to the society, including rape, homicide, robbery, and arson. He has defended child pornography, which is rape. And listen to this reasoning, which would have people worried.
And also, I don't think I'll ever engage in child pornography because the penalties are way too high. Unless the laws become abolished and at some point in my life I get interested.
Because the guy has a blog detailing his arguments, he continues to solidify his claims. Amos is really pushing his luck with this asylum case, and the people who are sheltering are already starting to lose their patience.
Hello everybody, I'm getting kicked out of this wonderful house. Now, yeah, it's pretty sad. Why? Because of my views on pedophilia.
I think he already knows why he left Singapore, and that is in order to escape the military conscription policy the country has, which would see the Singapore government go down really hard since this would be his 3rd criminal offense. This is the more serious reason he should be worried, and I can only come to the conclusion that he either doesn't know what is at stake, or he's intellectually incapable of thinking for himself. The second point I want to make is his reasoning behind pedophilia. Now, it is very possible that he is trolling just to get attention. However, I question what is the real answer because he is very repetitive with his rants and he's not the only individual who defends pedophilia. If he is genuine, well, he isn't very informed about the human body, which is why his arguments are bad.
Now, I would argue and ask, why do you think that kids and babies aren't able to consent to sex? Babies consent to sucking their thumb, to sleeping, to choosing the fire truck over the Hello Kitty during play. They are perfectly able to show approval right when they're born. If a baby is curious about a man's genitals and he comes over and plays with it, that is a sexual act. But that is completely fine and harmless. Why should there be a problem with that?
Amos is wrong. Children cannot have the desire for that stuff because they haven't developed the hormones for those urges. They don't kick in till around 14. Anything below that comes just out of manipulation to a child.
Whether you were biologically born with that sexual orientation or you were influenced by your surroundings, if you just have the desire to have a perfectly consensual sexual relationship with a child, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. And pedophiles, like the LGBT community, seem to exist in very significant numbers in society. Why should we immediately discriminate against such a huge group of people, say that they are scum and they should be imprisoned when they have done absolutely nothing wrong?
Pedophilia is not an orientation. See, this guy doesn't even know what an orientation is. Pedophilia is nothing but a preference, like wanting blondes or brunettes. If you had an attraction to old people, that's not an orientation. Not only is it a preference, but it is a psychological disorder.
If a child and an adult have consensual sex, they both film it, and they both agree that it's fine for the footage to be on the internet, There's absolutely nothing wrong done. Why should it be illegal? In the US, for producing child porn, an adult gets a minimum of 15 years in prison and a maximum of 30. That is fucking insane!
Again, children cannot consent to that, and all those punishments are perfectly there for a reason.
Is most countries criminalize simply possessing child pornography. Possessing child pornography, a completely non-violent act, whether you viewed it based on sexual attraction or non-sexual curiosity, in the US, you get a minimum of 5 years in prison and a maximum of 15. What the fuck? And even if I gave you the benefit of the doubt and said that, okay, all child sex is rape, and so all child pornography is essentially footage of rape, is it wrong to upload or view footage of child rape? No! Now, people might argue that the reason why footage of child porn or child rape should be banned is because having it on the internet would promote such behavior. However, the fact is, there really is no evidence that there's a link between watching violent footage and an increase in violent crimes, and if there is, please show it to me. It's kind of like the people who say that having the death penalty helps reduce crime, or banning violent movies helps reduce violence. Like, it seems like there would be a logical connection, but the fact is, there's absolutely no evidence to show that there is a connection. Uploading and watching footage of real violence should not be illegal, similar to how you should not be sent to prison if you see footage of a reporter getting beheaded by a Muslim. It doesn't mean you want to conduct violence when you watch footage of real violence. It just means that you might have a curiosity at how horrible human beings can be.
Look, Jackie Chan, you are wrong on so many levels. Movies and video games do not show real-life violence or rape. It only shows professional actors acting out that scene. A snuff film actually shows violence, and if people watch that shit, it will only reinforce the perpetrators to kill or harm more people. It's like driving a stolen car.
These laws are essentially taking away the rights of people. And just because these people are below 18 or babies, should not give you the authority to take away those rights. Any form of restriction to consensual actions or words is fascism. And so if you still continue supporting the illegalization of child pornography, I'm sorry to say you are a fascist.
By your logic, psychopaths should kill people. It's like you want social anarchy. This just shows how Amos Yee hasn't learned about the basics of humanity, at least not yet. On this last part, however, I do see that he has shown some improvement.
At that time, I went around calling everyone a fascist for those who disagree with me. Yeah, I don't think I should have done that. It seems pretty dickish.
No shit, Sherlock!
Alright. He's learning. It's beautiful to see a human creature go through the process of learning. It's such a magnificent thing.
Personally, I'm not a psychologist and I can't fully examine the state of an individual. However, based on the criteria which is used in current medical practices, Amos Yee does show elements of either borderline deficiency or mild mental retardation based on his ill-informed choices and slow learning. That is how I believe he is able to be such a controversial figure. Till we know more, this is the stance I take.